Hello, friends. Matthew Zachary here. You know, you've been told that the American healthcare system is broken. It isn't. It's working exactly as designed. Delays, denials, dehumanization. For decades, it's been profits over patients. You need proof? What's the first question they ask you? What insurance do you have? That tells you everything. And it isn't just big health insurance. It's the American Medical Association, it's labor unions, it's employers, politicians from both sides, and even the IRS. Yes, the IRS. They built it this way. And now it's time we, the patients, rig the system in our favor. Here's the prescription. We, the patients, understanding, navigating, and surviving America's healthcare nightmare. My new book by me, Matthew Zachary, a 30-year brain cancer survivor, the founder of Stupid Cancer, the host of this podcast, Out of Patients, and co-founder and CEO of We the Patients. Pick up your copy of We the Patients today wherever books are sold, or visit wethepatientsbook.com to learn more.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is the luminary advocate, Kathy Giusti. Kathy's a two-time cancer survivor who got diagnosed with multiple myeloma in 1996 at the age of 37, right before Christmas. Not that there's a good time for that to happen, while putting up a tree with her husband and thinking life had finally settled down. Famous last words. She had an 18-month-old daughter, student loans behind her, a career in pharma, and then suddenly, bam, she's in Borders bookstore at opening hour, sitting on the floor reading Harrison's like it's the last level of a Nintendo game she had no cheat codes for. Kathy pushed her doctors to tell the truth, which at the time was about, 3 years. We'll give you 3 years. So she did what any rational person would do in a completely irrational system. She started interviewing oncologists and fertility doctors at the same time, went through IVF, kept working to hold on to insurance, and then decided the system itself needed a serious enema. And that led to the creation of the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, MMRF, which she built from scratch because nothing like it existed. I wanted her on the show because she's someone upon whose shoulders I stand. She's a luminary. I said that already. I look up to her. She's a founder. She learned how the system works from scratch. She learned who holds power, who shares data, who doesn't, and why patients end up doing all the executive level work just to stay alive. Stay with this one, guys. I don't get to talk very often to my heroes. This is that show. My name is Matthew Zachary. This is Out of Patients. Let's get started. All right, folks, here's a moment in my career that I've been literally waiting for like a decade. Because Kathy and I have been circling each other forever, let alone being 30-year cancer survivors, which is its own segment of the show later on as we channel MC Hammerpants. But I'm so thrilled to have you here in the studio in 3 dimensions. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So my first question is, how the hell do you actually say your last name? And how often does it still frustrate you that people ask you that question?
Oh my God. I have to spell it every time. I always go, it's Giusti, Giusti, S is in Sam, T is in Tom. And it's juice and tea. So imagine you put juice like drinking juice and tea together.
So my legal name is Matthew Zachary Greenzweig. I use Matthew Zachary as a stage name. I don't hide it.
Right.
But for people that have difficult names to pronounce and spell, we can channel ordering food in the 80s and having to spell it to the people on the phone. Seamless has solved that problem for people like us.
I still spell my name a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Because it's the UI or the IU.
It's the IU. It's the Italian.
What's the worst you've heard?
Or Giusti.
Giusti.
Yeah, Giusti.
Now that's your married name.
It's my married name.
What was your maiden name?
Donald.
Oh, you definitely had a downgrade right there.
He was worth it. It's all good.
Okay. As long as you both married up, everything's squared away.
Yes.
So we have to start with like the most inanely insane common thread, which is how the hell are we alive?
Good
30
question.
years later. And I always had asked like, well, what'd you do right? Like, I don't know. I just kind of did it. Do you get asked that question?
I get asked that question, but I did a lot right.
Yeah.
I worked really hard to be alive.
Because multiple myeloma wasn't like words people said in the 90s before. Like that doesn't even sound like cancer.
No, it's the worst name ever.
Yeah.
I mean, breast cancer, prostate cancer, at least you know where the cancer is.
Right.
Multiple myeloma, I kept thinking, what the heck is that?
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what I said when finally the internist told me what he suspected I had. And I was in my car driving at the time with one of those big, bulky car phones that we used to have. And I said, I don't even know what that is. And then it turned out my grandfather had multiple myeloma. And I just never knew. He had died tragically in a fire in our house. And so nobody talked about his multiple myeloma.
But that did cause the fire.
No, but
Wait a minute. Are you flammable now?
No. It was a really tragic situation.
Yeah,
but when I
seriously.
called my mom, and my father had just recently died of renal cell carcinoma, so it was a tough call to my mom to sit and now say, you know, your daughter has cancer. But the first thing she said was, oh, your grandfather had that. And I was, what? I never put that in a medical form.
Right.
I never wrote about risk in my family.
Yeah. So you were 37. I was 21. It was 1996. I'm just going to ask, what month did all this happen for you?
So I was diagnosed right before Christmas is when they suspected it. So I always tell that story that my husband and I were putting the Christmas tree up in our house and honestly looking at each other and saying, we finally made it. Like the student loans are all paid off. We're happily married, bought our new home. Our daughter Nicole's 18 months. We love our jobs. We've got it going. You know, we were just so proud of ourselves.
So you totally famous last worded yourself.
Yeah, basically. And then I had gone in for a physical because we wanted to get referred to a fertility doctor for our second child. And they suspected something when they saw the blood results, asked me to come back in. Even then, I wasn't quite suspecting. But by January, they had done enough testing to realize they suspected I had multiple myeloma. I got the phone call from the internist to go to the hemonc. But while I had him on the phone, I'm like, I know you know what this is. Just tell me.
Right.
And that's when I was like driving the Kennedy, you know, in the Chicago area. And he basically told me. And I thought, what the heck is that?
Right.
And that's when I got stuck.
Well,
The more I read, the more nervous I got.
As one should in the 90s when there was nothing to even understand what. Did you get your Encyclopedia Britannica off the infomercial on the television and pull it off your bookshelf and read it? No, you didn't do that.
I went to Borders bookstore. Early the next morning, my husband and I were sitting outside in the parking lot before it opened. As soon as the doors opened, because I was going to move on and see my internist again with my husband. As soon as the doors opened, I went in and got Harrison's, Merck Manual, anything I could find in the library there. And I sat there on the floor with him, pages open, reading, and just tears forming, going, what the heck?
What was that word? Bookstore?
Bookstore. No internet. No internet back then.
Wait, what is a book? They had stores back then?
And they were nice stores,
They really
actually. They were quite helpful.
They really were. I asked because I had my first MRI the day after Boxing Day in December 95. So the Jew on Christmas had a rough post-New Year's going on there.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. But I was told that I had cancer on a blinking answering machine.
Oh boy.
As if like Carrie Bradshaw got broken up on a Post-it note. Remember that episode? Yeah. So like it's not jokeable, but it's funny.
They
to
left
look
the
back
message on your answering machine.
Yeah. So I've told the story. My mom and I went to get the scan, went out to lunch and came back and the machine was blinking in the bedroom. Everyone only had like one machine back then.
Right.
Right. With the cassette tape, the tiny cassette tape that's out in there. And no one's calling. Well, Days of Our Lives is going to phone us, at 1:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday. No. Mr. Greenswag, we found a mass, come back. The radiologist or whoever the hell left that, they probably shouldn't have said that on a blinking machine.
But it's not any better now. I mean, it's better in so many ways because we all can get the information. Well, it's not a text. It's really, everybody's now getting it in a portal.
Yeah.
So and it's the law, right? Which I think is a good law, which means the information, your test results have to be dropped in as soon as they're ready. But the doctors are all in the clinic. You're seeing them before they are. So what I find working with so many patients is now they've just seen it in their portal. The first thing they're going to do is jump on their computer and do a search, understandably. And now they're down a lot of rabbit holes, and you have to hope they learn how to do it right. So in some ways better, in some ways trickier, like even with my breast cancer, put that in and see how many hits you get on what the heck is going on in breast cancer, which is a good thing, by the way.
Well, I look at it as a better problem to have.
Right.
Versus like, oh, you're just going to die, enjoy yourself, get your affairs. Were you told get your affairs together? Because I was kind of told that at 21 because they didn't know what to do with me.
I pushed for the answer.
Okay.
They don't like to say you're going to be dead in 3 years, but I kept pushing for the answer because I had done all the reading in Harrison's and Merck and everything I could get my hands on. And I saw how long patients were living. And so once I pushed, yes, it became pretty clear. It's a death sentence. You have about 3 years.
So back in those days, hey kids, we had rotary phones. I love the fact you had like the Don Johnson phone in your car.
I did.
I envision that. Or the Dylan from 90210 phone in your car. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it weighed 5 pounds.
Yes, massive things. And then it was like a suitcase you walked away with to Wall Street. Yeah, remember those things. And I forgot my question because my brain doesn't work. But, I know what it was. It was because there was nothing back then. I always talk about these better problems to have that. It's different today, but I'd rather have today's more complicatedness because it likely means you're not going to be so miserably alone and going to the library or Borders to find something that might help you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think in today's world, the reason for hope is so strong. I have never seen a time like I'm seeing now where the science and the technology are moving so fast. I think the biggest challenge for patients today is the fear of missing out. If you don't play the game, which is a tough game to play, if you don't play it right, you can miss out. And if you miss out on the right thing for you, you might not get that extra year that might actually get you the next year and the next year and potentially a cure. That's how fast things are moving now. It's a really good problem to have, but if you don't play it right, you have more to lose.
Right, but no one goes to Cancer University to get a degree for when they get sick to know what to do either.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest problem is it's a language nobody's heard of, and they get the diagnosis and they're just stalled.
Right.
Nobody knows what to do. I find it shocking in some ways that we all know 1 in 2 of us are going to get a diagnosis. So we all know it's going to be you. It could be your partner. It's going to be somebody you love. So we all have to be on the game. How we do it is really important.
Right.
But everybody's surprised because I think we all think we're invincible and we're not.
Well, there is something called the invincibility gene, which you're supposed to have when you do stupid shit in like high school, college, in your 20s. Like you're not supposed to have a sense of mortality at that age. It is your job to basically be a primate and learn self-defense and proprioception and street smarts, right? You have to learn by fucking up. But you get this like forced maturity at the same time. I'm fascinated by the fact that you're very open about the fertility conversation you were having, because there was no young adult anything. There was no long-term pediatric anything. This was like good luck, good luck, right? The Clooney movie. And I have a colleague who also was diagnosed with breast cancer that had a child at the time and was looking to have a second child. And they mentioned, just because they had like the seichel, the wherewithal to do this, will this affect my ability to have another child? Questions that we would never think to even ask back then. And the doctor said to her, "What, one's not enough?"
Well, I asked the question because I decided, I started writing in a journal the day I was diagnosed. And I was writing it for our daughter, Nicole, because I just wanted her to remember me. If I was going to be dead in 3 years, if she turned 5, maybe she'd remember she had a mom.
She was 18 months old, right?
18 months old. So I was just really hoping that she'd remember me. So I started writing to her in this journal that I also picked up in Borders bookstore on my way out, thinking my life is really going to change right now.
The club card at this point now?
Yeah. And, while I was writing it, I realized how badly I wanted to continue on with my life. We wanted to have another child. And I decided I wanted to live like I was going to live, not like I was going to die. And I also, I grew up with an identical twin beside me. I wanted her to have somebody as well. So that became a bit of my North Star, like build our family, make sure everybody's safe so that when I die, they're all good, like everybody's together. So yes, I was interviewing fertility doctors at the same time that I was interviewing my oncologists. And we got this done relatively quickly. I'm still shocked because I ended up having to do IVF. And, but I was so fortunate because also to keep insurance, I was still working at my job in the pharmaceutical industry. But the place where they specialized in doing ICSI, which was the process of IVF at the time, was on my way to work. And I literally was in there every morning. And, we kept trying. And then finally, in 1997, our son David was born. And in all honesty, I've never had a sad day since.
That's a miracle story.
It's an unbelievable story. Yeah. When I look at him, and it's so funny because now both of my children are married, and they both got married a year ago. And talk about a 30-year survivor who's just seen unbelievable things. Imagine what it's like to see your daughter marry and your son, who you so wanted them to be best friends, gives the toast. And then your son gets married and your daughter gives the toast. And they are living 10 minutes from each other here in Brooklyn.
That's amazing.
And both married, I know my family's safe. Somehow we did it, right? Yeah. We did it. And it's the greatest gift. And I just hope that I can make that happen for as many other people as possible.
So I was at the hematology conference last year. For those listening, it's called ASH. Mm-hmm. It's one of the largest convenings of the hematology oncology space. Every drug manufacturer, every nonprofit, every investigator is there. It's the mecca to be at. If
Happy
you're in
December.
Space. Yeah, exactly. And again, just for fuck's sake, why is it the day before the breast cancer one? That's a separate conversation over bourbon. But my point is that multiple myeloma was like the talk of the town this year.
Oh, yeah.
My question to you is, what was the treatment beyond good luck in 1996?
Okay, so in 1996, what was just starting, we didn't have drugs. We just had supportive care like a bisphosphonate. But what was just starting was stem cell transplant. So that was the only thing I was hanging my hat on was, could I be one of those patients that would benefit from a stem cell transplant? And then imagine this, I didn't know that my sister and I were identical. Everybody said, that's nuts. How could you not know that? You look exactly the same. But we were never tested. My mom never had us tested. So then when we were getting ready for this, I had my sister tested, and obviously she was an identical twin. That is a gift from God to say, oh my God, I cannot believe.
You have a backup.
I have a plan here. And then ironically, my brother was also a 6-for-6 match, one of my brothers. And so a lot of hope comes from that.
Just thank your parents for that one. Wow.
I know. That was really fortunate. And I always say this to patients, everybody's different. So we all read the data, we all read the abstracts, we all listen to the information and wonder oh, am I in that death curve? Where am I? But we're all unique in our own way. So you can't read it and truly believe that everything you see or hear is going to be you. You have to find your space for having hope. And that was where I had it. So I smoldered for quite a while, which was a very good thing because I didn't pursue treatment while that happened. I started the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation with my twin sister, Karen, an attorney, and we got that up and running. Next thing we knew, we were starting with vaccines and immunotherapy at the time, but then stem cell transplant would combine with it. But then thalidomide emerged as that crazy drug that was one that everybody was nervous about, but was phenomenal.
Made a comeback.
In myeloma. Yeah. Yes, it did. And so once that happened, we shifted the MMRF to novel drug and really started working in that field and developing drugs. The MMRF, as you know, is a very doing foundation. We're not just a funder, we're a doer.
Right. So I got very lucky by happenstance because in 1996, there really was nothing specific for young adults or brain cancer except for a very, very siloed, splintered batch of like 5 groups that did their own thing, one of which was the American Brain Tumor Association, but they were mostly, rightfully so, 80-year-old men. I didn't relate to anything, and the internet was useless, of course, except for floppy disks roaming the land and whatever. What was your experience finding what I guess today we would call peer support or like-minded people that are 37 with multiple myeloma and kids?
It didn't happen. So I was trying to go to the support groups, and I would get in there, and I was the youngest by 30, 35 years. And what they were talking about wasn't relevant to me. I was sitting there trying to figure out, what doctors am I going to go see? How am I getting a second and third opinion? I wanted to travel. I wanted to learn anything and everything I could. I was not going to stay just locally at the community hospital. I knew enough working in pharma that you had to find the best of the best. But on the back of my mind was also this issue of, how am I going to handle the treatment? When do I start treatment? Could I possibly have this child? Like, what do I want to do? So my plans were looking a lot different. So I did something different. I found a counselor. We actually found him through our church, and he was specialized in counseling cancer patients. So my husband and I would go. And really, it was more that he helped us put the plan together, because if all of a sudden you're deciding that I could die, and now we think we might want to have another child, and we live in Chicago with no family around us, what's the plan? Am I going to stop working? We need my insurance. Is he going to get insurance? He owns his own company. Is he going to sell it? It was so complicated. When I go back and read the journal, I can't believe we pulled this all off.
I'm glad you knew to have a journal in the first place. My dad had a Word document. Who thought to do that back then?
Well, now I have 30 of them, one for every year I never expected to live. And I wrote them for my children. I don't know if they'll go back and read them, but it's okay. I use them to write my book. So that was super helpful.
But, like, Mom, enough. Come on, you're still here.
You're still here. We don't need to read this. But I will tell you, it's something to read your life back and realize, what you did right, what you did wrong, and what you didn't do at all. It's fascinating. But yeah, so that was, back then in myeloma, I was a lot like you. There were 4 centers, just 4 centers working in the field. I was not typical. By the way, myeloma skews older, male, African American. I was sitting
Great job.
I was like, what the heck? I am not the poster child. But in some ways, being young, having the energy and having the background I did was super helpful.
That was another question. Having worked in the industry, the very industry that you got sucked into as like a, I won't say a customer because the doctor's the customer, but you became like the patron end user of the very industry you're working in. How did that come in handy?
Oh, it helped me tremendously because I had huge respect for the pharmaceutical industry. The issue is that, yes, we can say the pricing issue, there's lots of other things there, but at the end of the day, the people that work in the pharmaceutical industry are like the doctors that go to medical school. We don't end up in healthcare because we want to screw everybody over. We're there because we actually want to make a difference. So I think for me, when I was starting the MMRF, my focus was bring academia, bring FDA, bring the industry together. I was all about new drug development. I mean, a lot of other people...
Because there was none.
There was none. And
right.
I didn't want to do hand-holding because
it wasn't new. It was like,
no
let's
hope.
just have something that exists.
Exactly. So the ability to convene was pretty easy when there's only 4 major centers, maybe 5, and you're bringing them together with FDA, with industry, and trying to get things going. You can have some really thoughtful conversations. I truly believe some of the greatest success of the MMRF was the early days of jump starting. It's like that early seed money and early energy where I think we probably got things done 10 times faster than anybody else was. Now myeloma is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
It's a little harder for one person to make a huge difference, but I was lucky. The team I was working with through those first 10 years, unbelievable. Just such smart, great, collaborative leaders.
Well, I want to take a quick break and come back because, again, the idea of a patient advocate nonprofit in the 1990s didn't exist. There were like maybe 2.
There were 3 really good ones. Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Cystic fibrosis.
And American Cancer Society, which is
and
just
ourselves.
It's like a rug that's been around in America for 100 years.
Yeah. I mean, it was a much bigger group, but in terms of being super focused on one thing.
Few of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
very few. But we shared everything we learned, those 3 foundations. We were all friends.
All right. We'll be back after the break.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
So one of the things that happened in the 90s that I only learned about later on, and I had wished I had known to go, was the 1998 March on Washington. Were you there?
No.
Did you know about it?
I knew vaguely of it. I think at that point, our son was born. We were moving back east to be near our family. I think a lot of that was just, in my head. I knew it was there, but I wasn't making the action to get there. I was so swamped with all the things we were doing.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where I'm sorry I wished I had wanted to go.
Right.
But man, do I wish I was there, because the more I researched it, I did a whole Spotify series about it. That was a nexus moment.
I know.
For the country to give a shit about the fact that more and more people are getting this and we're dying. It was very akin to the Larry Kramer Act Up. And I look at it from that cultural zeitgeist perspective.
Well, Mike Milken just had a meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was a part of the discussion. It was amazing because he lived through all of those things too.
Right.
So that was a huge part of what was presented and thought about, and where are we now today, and how much progress have we truly made?
So living in nostalgia world, how did the Livestrong movement at its heyday make you feel maybe more concentric to, yes, it's about all of us and we could still have our sort of geographical biology needs?
I feel like Livestrong, all of us were working together in a really thoughtful way. I think we were trying to share as many ideas as we could. I used to say that it was hard. Well, let me put it this way. I used to beat up the academic medical centers because they didn't share. Right?
Yes.
The data's not shared. The tissue can't be shared, nothing shared. And so in order to cure uncommon cancers like yours and mine, you need critical mass. So if nobody's sharing, you're not going to get there very quickly. But I have to say, over time, I realized that the nonprofits all have really interesting models and ideas. And the reason we weren't sharing as easily as you think we might was time. It was time and money. And a lot of it was, in order for you to achieve the mission you had as your own foundation, the fundraising was the big time sink.
Right.
And for me, the hard part wasn't coming up with the strategic plans, where we needed to go, what the model would look like, how do we design it, SOPs, who's the leader, write the grant, review the grants, how are we doing all that? That part was the fun part. The hardest part was, your Compass study is going to cost $50 million. Go raise the money.
Right.
And finding the donors and getting all of that done was, I think, one of the biggest challenges. So I feel like one of the biggest opportunities still in oncology is the ability to convene, get everybody to play together as much as humanly possible to cure each cancer, but also to make sure that every cancer is sharing their information so that we can all benefit.
Yeah, and that's always like the get off my lawn theory of founders. And there are lifers like you and I. I mean, I stepped away, but I never won't not be. That was a triple negative. Be a part of the situation here. But please figure out where the common threads are that helps raise all boats.
Yeah.
I would like to think that, I guess where I want to go with this is that stupid cancer, because we were young adult and sort of disease Unitarian, so to speak. It was very difficult to find funding because they would only fund verticals, which in specific cases made a lot of sense. But it wasn't really until immunotherapy and genetic testing where it didn't matter what you had. It was about, you just have to have DNA, and that Gen Xers were more interested in being participants in that. It was like, do we really want to give our credit card to PayPal in the 90s? No. But okay, I'm 30 now in the 2000s. I'm happy to give my genetics to this company. Where did that land in your space?
Well, it's always the payoff. I think in myeloma, what we were able to help our patients understand is we were very sequential in everything we did. Okay, so we're writing a plan. We have a cancer that has no cure, no drugs in the pipeline. How do we get started? I think that's probably the best success for me as a business person is saying, okay, well, how are we lining up the incentives? So the first thing you do is get the scientists into the field. If you only have 4 centers working, that's not going to get you there. So we had to raise the money to do that. Then we said, okay, let's get tissue because we all know our tissue is gold to the academic centers. So we had to build a collaborative tissue bank. And then remember, genomic sequencing was just starting. So at that point in time, we said, okay, we'll work with the Broad Institute to be the first to sequence the myeloma genome. Once people knew genomic sequencing was a real thing and that they could get their genome sequenced, just remember there were a lot of people calling academia to say, will you sequence my genome? Like, I want to get that done because it was expensive, really expensive back then. But now that genomic sequencing is less expensive, I mean, people want to get this done. I mean, you can't get your cancer cured if you don't know exactly what you have. So what we always have to tell everybody is you need to make sure when you get diagnosed, not only are you trying to figure out your medical team, you've got to get the right diagnostics. You have to get genomic sequencing, biomarker testing, immune profiling, the right level of imaging. All of these things matter because, first of all, you want a great baseline. You want all that, really safe so you have it in case new things come up. So I think in today's world, people are very open to making sure they get everything done. The more they know, the more they're going to do that.
I want to talk about some of the challenges in recruiting the African-American community to this, because there's a lot of hesitancy. Cultural history has clearly created this high risk and aversion to that because of horrors that befell them for all the worst reasons that humanity can bring. And being that this is a largely male African-American disease, how did you build that trust over the years? And there are one-offs in cardiology where they bring a drug to market and it doesn't work in Black people because they didn't have them in the trial where they started. What was that like? How was that manifested over 20, 30 years for you?
Well, first off, from the day we started, we never charged anybody for anything at the MMR, ever. So everything and anything we were doing was always free. But when we built our clinical organization, which was doing phase 1 and 2 trials, it was done at the academic centers, but everybody was very aware of who was our community. Now, easier said than done, but when we actually went one step further to say, okay, we are building a COMPASS study because we need one major
what is a COMPASS study for the people listening?
So the COMPASS study was when we brought all the academic centers together, FDA, another one of these big convenings, and we said, we need a database, a data set in myeloma that follows patients genomically, clinically, and longitudinally. Because these are the data sets that you absolutely have to understand what is low, mid, high risk in your cancer, what treatments are working, what's not working. Everybody needs this. We all talk about registries. This was way beyond a registry. This was a clinical study. So that was when I had the academic centers together, and all of us at the MMRF were trying to get them to play together. And in the room, they would say, yes, we can share. But then when they went back to the executives at the academic centers, it was really hard to do it. So we decided to build our own study, which meant we had to fund it. That was a $50 million initiative for this very tiny cancer to build this study. But then we said, okay, we could do this if we create a public-private partnership. So in a situation like that, you build it so that, for example, pharma companies that have interest and want to see, because you want them looking at this data, could look at the data first. So they would have a licensing agreement to kind of look in at that. And then everybody could get the data at some point in time. So you had to build these really interesting models that were new and that would be highly innovative. Again, I still think something like the COMPASS study would be amazing today in the world of immunotherapy. Yeah. Like, we need data sets.
Yeah. I look at stupid cancer as my third child. Do you feel the same about with your accomplishments? Can you look back and pat yourself on the back appropriately? I have a hard time doing that sometimes, but like, look what we did though.
I think it's I think it's such a credit. I don't like to say it was me. I think I was like a spark that maybe ignited it. And I think I kept the urgency in the room as a patient. But looking back on it and even reading through all my journals and all the business plans and everything we've done.
30 years of journals?
Yeah, my 30 years of business plans.
Yeah.
I was like, we were so lucky that we had an amazing group in myeloma. And by the way, that group is still extraordinary. So yeah, I like to think I was the spark, but I also think that for some reason, this is a very unique group of scientists, clinicians, pharma companies, FDA, they're really stuck together. So a lot of what I speak about now is a little bit like the history you and I have, where I was diagnosed and the 5-year survival was less than 30%. Today, it's 62%. So if it took us 30 years to get from 30 to 60, can we get to 90 in 15? And I believe we can. I truly believe that the myeloma community can get to a cure before my life is over. And I never dreamed I would say that, ever. I mean, it's only been in the last year that I even dare to say it. But I mean, it's a reflection of everybody. This was a team that it continues to push really hard.
So blood cancer and brain cancer are one of the few, it's not better or worse, it's different, where you can't see it, feel it. It's like this alien in your body. There's nothing you could do about it. You can't excise it. Mm-hmm. You can't live without blood or a brain. Like, that's not really a question in there, but like, it's just, I want people to realize it's different when you can't associate what's inside you because all of you is messed up.
Right. I feel like because I have a blood cancer and a solid tumor, I've had myeloma since 37. I've had breast cancer since just a few years ago, night and day.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself when I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, like, I wish I'd gotten something that was more understandable, that I could understand and people could understand. I remember thinking maybe it was breast cancer. Well, having gone through breast cancer now, that is no picnic.
No.
And it's...
better, different problems to have.
Again, different problems to have. And for me, high infection rate. And it was 18 months. That was not an easy part of my life at all.
Yeah. I mean, I guess where I was, maybe my brain caught up to my question is, there's no real early detection for blood cancers, right?
There is in myeloma, which is amazing.
Oh, tell me then.
Yeah. So the way they found mine was elevated protein, high anemia. So they started to figure that out. In today's world, yes, you can find patients that have what's called MGUS super, super early.
Ooh,
a lot of people actually have that. It doesn't convert to smoldering. Then you get smoldering myeloma, which you can find again through blood.
Sounds very sexy.
You're waiting for everything to explode. I used to feel like I was a volcano waiting to go.
Smoldering.
And then even smoldering, not everybody goes to active disease. So now what we've done, again, with data sets, there's people that just work in this space right now, smoldering. It's amazing. Like, they're being treated. If you're high risk, you're now getting treated. So maybe we could treat them and they never have to get stem cell or CAR T or these amazing immunotherapies, which are incredible, but do have side effects. So these are the shifts that we see in blood cancers and in multiple myeloma, which you're really following it. So for me, I'm always speaking like, how will we cure this disease? And the truth is, we have so many new drugs in immunotherapy. Like, it just blows my mind and immunotherapy is coming into solid tumors now. So the ability to dose those, combine them, sequence them is going to be amazing, but you need data, again, to understand that, doing faster clinical trials, and then bringing in AI and much more educated consumers. It's going to be pretty mind-blowing these next couple years in healthcare.
Is there like a Cologuard for multiple myeloma coming around? Like, can you just go to Walgreens one day and say, I wonder if I'm going to be suspect for this thing one day?
Well, look at it. I mean, you've got Guardant, you've got Grail, you've got all these companies working on MCEDs. So,
Wait, acronym. Multiple Cancer Early Detection Tests.
Yes. So I say this a lot. Like, I understand that a lot of people are a little nervous about those tests, but for someone like me, I truly believe my kids, like, think about it. I've had breast cancer, myeloma. Their grandfather had renal cell carcinoma. Their grandmother had melanoma. Their aunt has stage 3 breast cancer. They know that they're high risk. They know that. So if you're in your 30s and you're getting tested or something comes up, will they take those tests? Yeah, I think they will. And again,
isn't the at risk only like 7% of the population anyway?
It is true. But I do feel like there are some people that could be considered at risk for lifestyle issues.
Right.
Right. So there's that issue too. But yeah, from a genetic standpoint, but you have to wonder sometimes, like when there's that much cancer in your family. Yeah, I tell my kids, make sure you've got a really good primary care. Make sure you're always getting everything tested. Just be aware of your body. It's really important.
Yeah, I've always challenged the assumption that be your own advocate is kind of a nice trope at some point. Most people just don't have it in them to do that. And I don't even think it's generational. We said, the old people just listen. No, I think we're at a point now culturally where we either don't want to know, which means we just don't do anything and you wait for there to be a real problem, or like it's right there in front of you, Cologuard adoption. Like, for example, this is not a spokesperson for Cologuard.
Exact science.
But yeah, or Abbott bought them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, but like, I remember when I first heard the words leukemia, which I'd never heard of before, maybe in like a movie, it doesn't sound dangerous, right? It's not like multiple myeloma, cancer in your body. And if something doesn't sound dangerous, I feel like we wouldn't want to, there's no fear of it being there. The question that's sort of in here is, prevention's a made up word. How do you not get something? Like, if you want to prevent something, don't own a dog, right? Then you're never going to be a pet owner, right? That's prevention, right? Where does this live in today's narrative now?
I think there's so much better with this now on the prevention side. I think the awareness has gotten much, much stronger. So I'll tell you why. The conversations in my house are always about the Oura ring.
Oh, yes. Do you have one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course I have one. So my daughter-in-law has them. My daughter
Not
has
sponsored by Oura.
I'm not, but I love them. I wish I would love to be an advisor to them. I love them. Okay, so what are we all talking about? We're all talking about our vitals, how we're feeling, what's our sleep like, how many steps we got in, are we exercising? I mean, it tells you your resilience, it tells you everything, right? So because we have all of these things monitoring us, and because everybody's literally living on social media where you get all these trends and tricks and things that are going on, I think that this younger community, they cannot miss the fact right now that cancers like colorectal cancer are hitting their generation.
Yes.
And that they need to be on their game. So in that situation, I think they do hear the word cancer and I think they're on it. I think we're trying to educate them. I do this on social media all the time, educate them that we're not asking you to go crazy, but making sure you're up and moving every single day and exercising, eating healthy, not smoking, not sitting in the sun. These are not hard things to do.
Right.
They're not hard. And the more you can use this data that you study, the more it's going to help you to stay healthy. So I think they're better. I think the second part, which is really important, and you've just touched upon this with Cologuard and other things, are the screenings. Right. So not everybody knows that colorectal screening has now, hit at 45, not 50. And so not everybody's getting it at 45. I think the numbers were like 35%. I can't remember, but it's not as high as you would think.
Right.
So I think that comes down to the role of primary care doctors and people getting to primary care, which is not always easy, and making sure you're staying on top of all those screenings.
Right.
I think they're going to be better than we think because everything's in your phone. You can get plenty of reminders of what to do. I think for them, it's going to be easy access. How do I get to a primary care easily? How do they follow me? And can that primary care tell me what to do? Including potentially down the road, if you're high risk and you want to get an MCED, would you do it? These are conversations they have to have.
Yeah. One more break and we'll be right back. I want to talk about your book and I want to talk about the lightning round Netflix series.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
So the TLDR on MMRF these days, what's going on? You're an advisor now?
I'm on the board.
Okay, so you step down.
Right.
But when I left Stupid Kids, I'm quitting. No, people like you don't quit, they step down, right? So you elevate.
No, I think as a founder, it took me a little time to do this. I was not the best at this. I'm going to say that. Right
We'll
up
have
front.
a founder therapy drink after the show.
Exactly. By the time Mike Andrini, who's now our CEO, came in, it was the right time. And, it's really important for founders to step away and get out of their hair. So I try to be there to be supportive whenever they need me, but I love a good strategic plan. So,
Said no one ever.
Yeah. So they're in the throes of writing their new strategic plan right now, and I'm on the programming committee because I love that part. The programming committee really decides how the money gets spent, and the MMRF takes that very seriously. Like, what are we investing in? The reason that's so important is nonprofits. In order to excel, you have to know your white space. You have to know exactly what's going on. This is my Harvard speak, of course.
Yeah.
But you have to know exactly what's going on.
Well, it's a business.
It's a business, and it's this new environment. And that's why part of what I'm saying and hoping that we can get done is we don't know how ideally to use these incredible immunotherapies that have come our way. And so as a result, patients are very confused. Do I start CAR T? Do I go bispecific? What's the toxicity? Now trispecifics are coming out. Their minds are being blown. And I wish we could give all the answers. But again, we need data to do that. Where we do have spaces for new drugs, like in super high risk extramedullary disease, we need to pursue that. But I think the accelerator of everything good in myeloma and cancer is going to be based off of working with AI partners.
Yeah.
And really building new models by working with them. And so I hope.
Wait, before they take over the planet and kill us.
Well, I think there's so much potential there.
Yeah.
But again, it's like anything else. Find the right ones with the right leaders that truly care about the patient. You and I have had these discussions before. A lot of companies say they care about the patient, but it's just talk.
Do they?
It's just talk.
Right.
And so I really like to work with the companies that I actually believe they do.
Yeah.
And I like to work with them along with the MMRF on understanding the strategy, the model, and the approach. I don't want to be the person that just blesses what you do and throw it out in social media.
Right.
I like to be part of the think tank.
Yep.
And I think that's where I like to spend my time. So I enjoy doing it with the MMRF, and I enjoy doing it with other companies too.
So your recent book,
Yes.
Fatal to Fearless, 12 Steps to Beating Cancer in a Broken Medical System. Man, I could do a whole other show with you about what does beating cancer mean? Is the system broken or working by design? Which is what my book's about. Like, it ain't broken. We're going to rig it. Like, it's like, thank you, Nixon, 1973 HMO Act for fucking all this up downstream. But why the book? Why then? Why now? And we're going to put a link to it. But what's the takeaway for readers?
So I went from running the MMRF to working up at Harvard Business School, sharing the MMRF model and teaching precision medicine across all cancers. I did it for 5 years. Loved it. And that was kind of my B2B thing, because I really feel like, what's the point of doing great work if people don't know what you're doing? And I also learned so much by learning what everybody else was doing in the cancer. And we had every foundation and every organization up there. At that point, though, I had talked to thousands of patients just like you. And it didn't matter. Like, when I was at Harvard, I was working across all cancers. So it didn't matter what people had. They were always calling. And I thought to myself, the way I address this and the steps I have them take are very consistent, whether it's breast, prostate, lung, myeloma. And I thought, I need to put these down on paper. Like, I just need to get it on paper. And so that's when I ended up selling the book to HarperCollins and writing it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So to close every show, I have a lightning round, which is really, you think of like it's a back and forth game. No, I just basically tell you something.
Oh, okay.
So what I do is I ask my AI that if you were a Netflix series, what 3 pop culture icons embody your character? And I feed it information about you. I talk to it about who you are, what you mean, why you're on the show, and here are the 3 people it thinks you are, and we'll see how accurate. It's batting like 9 for 10.
This is
right?
hysterical.
Right.
I heard this on the physical therapy podcast that you had done. Yeah, that was fun.
All
Okay.
right, so you are Norma Ray.
Oh, geez.
You
Okay.
turned a personal diagnosis into organized pressure that forced institutions to move. Like Norma Ray, you did not stop at survival. You built structure that made the system answer back.
Interesting.
All right. You're Dolly Parton.
Oh.
You lead with warmth, but behind that is disciplined execution and very clear intent. Like Dolly, you understand that trust opens doors, and then you walk through those doors ready to do serious business.
I like that.
And you are Sally Ride.
love that.
Not the song, the lady.
I know. I love that. That's quite a compliment.
You build credibility in rooms that were not designed for you and then operate there with calm authority. Like Sally Ride, you did not need noise to command space. You came prepared and let the work speak for itself.
Okay, this is very fascinating. You know what I love about this? Okay, so
AI, batting 9 for 10, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I will tell you a couple things. One, I always think I excelled on the business side. So I'm always thinking that somebody would pick up on like a business person that really understood incentives and like trying to get everybody in a field to compromise. Because I think the reason myeloma has done well is because everybody walked in, especially early on, knowing you weren't going to get what you wanted. Everybody, and I would look for the leaders that would actually be willing to make those compromises to get the job done. So there's the business side, which is more for me than the policy side, which is interesting. The warmth, I don't think anybody when they were working with me at the MMRF would call me warm. I was not very warm. I was very urgent. I was abrupt, if anything. But I think I'm much warmer now, having read those 30 journals about myself and realizing I wasn't very nice. I'm much warmer. And I think it's nice that AI is actually picking up on that.
Well, it didn't work for you.
And I think the whole part of, trying to break down barriers is amazing because I do hope that would make me feel really good if that's what I accomplished.
All right. Kathy Giusti, 30-year cancer survivor, two-time cancer survivor, founder, a word that we should take to heart, the founder of the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation, luminary researcher, doer, commander of shit at the FDA, like seriously, author of, there's so much. You tick so many boxes. Fatal to Fearless, 12 Steps to Beating Cancer in a Broken Medical System. There's no outro that does you justice. I stand on your shoulders, and I'm so thrilled you came on the show. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I was so happy to do this with you. So fun.
All right, folks. See you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.